Okay, well, first of all, you just introduce yourself, give us your name, and tell us a little bit about what you do.
My name is Gary Brasch. I'm an American environmental photojournalist. I've been 30 years photographing nature and environmental issues, and for the last 10 years I've been photographing climate change as a focus.
Okay, and you're involved in a specific project, are you? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
The project I started was called Worldview of Global Warming, and it's just that. I saw it 10 years ago, around 1999 and 2000, that there was lots and lots of information coming out about climate change, but very few people were actually photographing, illustrating what was really happening. I decided to call up and email scientists whose papers had been published about climate change, and to look around for some effects that had been advertised that were happening from climate change, such as sea level rise problems, and actually go there. And I think I was the first photographer on a single mission to go around the world to photograph climate change science and effects right where it's happening.
I mean, could you give me some examples of some of the places you've been to and what you've seen, what changes or what effects of climate change you've noticed there?
I've actually seen these effects right in the United States. In Oregon, where I'm from, the glaciated mountain, Mount Hood, I looked back in my photo files and I found pictures from the 1980s, and when I compared them to the pictures I was taking then and now, you can actually see the changes in the glaciers. They're getting smaller. And what I would normally do is then go to the scientists and ask them, do they have data on this? And sure enough, the scientific data also has been measured that those glaciers are shrinking. Along the coasts of North America, Florida, North Carolina, again, repeat photography shows how much more rapid erosion is. And then for my project, I went to 22 countries, other countries around the world. I went to Antarctica, thanks to the National Science Foundation. And every place I went, I found either scientists looking at issues, getting data that indicated rising temperatures and increasing CO2, or I was able to see effects. So I was in the Alps, I was in the Andes looking at shrinking glaciers. I was in a place called Tuvalu, which is a tiny little island. I have pictures I made in Tuvalu, which is one of the world's smallest nations, member of the UN, and it's here at the climate conference. These pictures, illustrative of the high tides they have periodically that are getting higher, has been published around the world by hundreds of publications and been in thousands of websites. It's pictures like this that bring a human face to climate change that I found all the way around the world. So right. This has become a major project to try to, and now there's so much more science and it's so much more visible to everyone that I've decided to go on with my project. I'm going to go back to many of the places, including Tuvalu. In February, I'm going to go back to Tuvalu and rephotograph and try to understand more about how they're dealing with this threat.
I mean, some of the science, some of the data can get very technical, very dry, very complicated, which to some degree, I guess, excludes the general public from understanding the issues. But your photographs, hopefully, I guess the intention is to bring some of that data, that scientific data, to life. Yeah?
Well, that's the intention. I always like to start with the scientists and help them teach me what it is that they're learning, and then try to make photographs that at least give you a feel for the landscape. For example, in Alaska and other parts of the Arctic tundra, they're seeing changes in actually the kind of plants that grow on the tundra. Trees are moving into a landscape that has not had trees probably forever. And there's certainly ice melting, permafrost melting. Even though I can't really make a picture, a very illustrative picture of the changes in permafrost, for example, the fact that I can make a picture of the scientists in the field doing their measurements helps, I think, give credibility to what they're saying. And that was my intention, to help people have a visual feeling for it, and to get people engaged in the fact that we have science that shows that changes are happening right now.
And there are still those, it seems like growing numbers, who deny the effects of man-made climate change. From what you've seen, from the places that you've been to, I mean, is there any doubt in your mind?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind. I think some of the doubt that you speak of is coming from people who are reading like advertisements from industrial companies that don't want to change, or are looking at information that is patently false when you look at the science. But and it's in some cases innocently, they don't have the breadth of reading perhaps. But I think when people do see the photos and understand that real effects are happening now, that they begin to get the idea. Much of the so-called skeptical movement or the deniers is just strictly that. They're denying it for some purpose, and usually it has very little to do with the science.
Where would you like to go that you haven't been to take photographs?
I'm sorry?
Where would you like to go? Is there a place you haven't been to yet that you would really like to go, you plan to go to?
There are places. There are more places in the Pacific, for example. Brasch, another small island group, is suffering from sea level rise, the Marshall Islands. These are places I hope to get to in the next few months. There certainly are more mountain ranges in the world. For example, the mountains of Eurasia are losing their glaciers. And then the whole vast tundra in Siberia is a place where not only is the permafrost beginning to thaw, but actually they're now measuring methane from cold decomposition coming out of the soils. And methane is a much more powerful greenhouse gas than even CO2. So those are a couple places that I haven't been yet, and I'm very interested in that. There are literally thousands of places in the world where climate change effects can be seen, and I can only get to a few of them, but I do hope to get to more.
Okay, Gary, thank you very much.
Thank you.